Have you ever felt like you're stuck on a treadmill, constantly chasing the next thing, but never quite arriving at a lasting sense of peace? Well, in this explainer, we're going to bridge two worlds that might seem totally separate: ancient wisdom from contemplative traditions and the latest breakthroughs in neuroscience. We're going to explore how understanding your own brain can actually help you find that deeper sense of inner peace and, finally step off that treadmill.
It's the big question, isn't it? It kind of hums in the background of our modern lives. We get the job, we buy the thing, we hit the goal, and yet that feeling of, okay, I'm good now, it always seems to be just around the corner. So what is going on here? What's driving this seemingly endless cycle? And this brings us straight to what you could call the happiness paradox. I mean, we live in a time with more opportunities, more wealth, more stuff than ever before in human history. But for a lot of us, it just feels like we're running in place. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Our whole society is geared for production, for speed, for achievement. We're so busy doing, we forget how to just be. And the result is this weird kind of burnout, where all our accomplishments kind of shimmer on the surface, but they don't have that deep, warm shine of real contentment. Psychology actually has a name for this whole thing. It's called the hedonic treadmill. And it's fascinating because it means our brains are literally hardwired to adapt. So you get that promotion, you buy that dream house, and for a little while, it's great. But then, that becomes the new normal. Your expectations shift upwards. The source material we're looking at puts it pretty bluntly. The game is basically rigged in favor of dissatisfaction. We're built to keep seeking, not to just chill out and be content. And this isn't just a feeling, you guys. It's backed up by hard data. For half a century, as wealth has skyrocketed in developed nations, the average happiness level has stayed flat. Totally flat. It's a huge wake-up call that once our basic needs are covered, more money and more things, well, they just aren't the answer we think they are. Okay, so if the answer isn't out there, what's happening in here? This is where things get really interesting, because this is where ancient insights and modern science look at the same problem, and, you won't believe it, they come to the exact same conclusion. So check this out. On the left, we've got the ancient Buddhist diagnosis, tanha. It literally translates to thirst or craving. This was identified 2,500 years ago as the root cause of dukkha, that background hum of stress and dissatisfaction. Now look at the right. Modern neuroscience calls the same process reward prediction error. It's the signal your brain fires off when what you get doesn't match what you expected, and it creates this powerful urge to try again, to get a different result. This is the big aha moment. These aren't two competing theories. They are two completely different languages, one from thousands of years of deep introspection, the other from high-tech brain scanners, and they are describing the exact same fundamental process. This is the engine in our minds that keeps us constantly wanting more. So how does this engine actually work? Well, it's a simple loop, really. First, your brain decides it likes something. It generates a preference. Then, when you get that thing, dopamine pathways fire up and hard-code the whole experience: the trigger, the behavior, the reward. This creates a really powerful and often totally unconscious drive to do it all over again. And when this loop gets really, really strong, we call it addiction. But it's the same basic mechanism that drives all of our day-to-day wanting.
Okay, but this raises a much deeper, kind of weirder question. We've talked about the what, the craving itself. But what about the who? Who, or what exactly, is the self that's having all these desires and feeling all this dissatisfaction in the first place? Ancient Buddhist psychology had a really radical answer to this. As this quote suggests, they saw that the mind isn't some solid, continuous thing. It's not an entity. It's more like a lightning-fast movie reel, a procession of these little momentary frames of consciousness called chittas, each one popping up and vanishing in an instant. I love this analogy from the source material. Think of your mind like a kaleidoscope. With every tiny little turn, every new moment, the pieces fall into a completely new, unique pattern that will never, ever repeat. What we experience as a solid, continuous me is actually this constantly shifting process, not a static thing you can point to and call a self. And here's the other mind-blowing parallel. On the left, you have the ancient insight of anatta, or no self, the profound understanding that there is no permanent fixed core to who we are. And on the right, a modern brain imaging discovery. Scientists found that in long-term meditators, there's way less activity in a brain circuit called the default mode network. And guess what that network does? It's the me, myself, and I network. It's the hub of self-referential thinking.
When it quiets down, the whole story of me starts to dissolve, and with it, all the craving that story creates. So, if our dissatisfaction is just a brain process, and the self that feels it is also a process, does that mean we can change it? Can we intervene? The answer from both science and wisdom is a huge, resounding yes. This is the path to freedom. It's about actively retraining the brain. You've probably heard this saying before, and for good reason. It's the simple, elegant summary of a revolutionary concept called neuroplasticity. It means your brain isn't fixed. It's not set in stone. It's constantly being reshaped by your experiences, and, this is the crucial part, by what you choose to pay attention to. This right here is the scientific principle that unlocks everything. It's called experience-dependent neuroplasticity. It means that whatever you repeatedly think, feel, and focus on, it physically changes your brain's structure and function. Let me say that again, because it's so important. What you rest your attention on literally sculpts your brain. This gives you the power to consciously build a different mind. So what does this retraining actually look like? Well, here's a simple, gentle path based on the teachings of meditation master Ajahn Brahm. It's not about forcing anything. Step 1, you just sit and let your body settle. Step 2, you gently let go of the physical sensations. Just let them fade. Step 3, once the body is quiet, the breath is all that's left. Your job is just to watch it, like a passenger on a bus. And finally, step 4, you just rest in the present. You're not trying to get anywhere else. This simple practice is what allows that me network to quiet down and the craving engine to finally cool off. Now, when this kind of practice is done over time, it leads to some truly profound changes, not just in how you feel, but in the actual physical wiring and activity of your brain. We're moving beyond philosophy now. We're talking about things we can actually see and measure. Take a look at this. These are maps of brainwave activity from an EEG study. You don't need to be a neuroscientist to get the picture. The warmer colors show more activity in brainwaves associated with deep relaxation and meditative focus. You are literally looking at the signature of a different state of mind, a brain that's calmer, more focused, and more integrated. And in very deep states of meditation, what's known as jhana, the changes are even more remarkable. As we've said, that self-obsessed default mode network gets really quiet. The brain stops operating in isolated little cliques and starts working in a much more holistic, integrated way. It moves towards a state scientists call criticality, which is basically the perfect sweet spot between order and chaos, allowing for maximum flexibility and responsiveness. The brain just becomes less rigid and more awake. So here's the bottom line. Awakening, or inner peace, or whatever you want to call it, it isn't some mystical, unattainable thing. It's a trainable skill. It is a real, measurable, neurological shift away from our brain's default factory settings of craving and self-obsession, and toward a new baseline of stillness, clarity, and genuine freedom. And all of this leaves us with one final and I think really powerful question. We now know, from both ancient wisdom and modern science, that the mind can be trained and the brain can be changed. So knowing that everything you pay attention to day in and day out is literally building your brain, what kind of mind are you going to choose to build?